Gemini, someone will try to get close again, but it's a trap the universe warns. Gemini, there's a strange stillness just before the storm. And if you've been feeling it lately, a subtle tension in the air, a sudden thought of someone you thought was long gone, dreams that stir old feelings. You're not imagining things. The universe is whispering to you now, gently but firmly, be alert. This isn't just a test of memory. It's a test of growth. Someone from your past, someone whose energy once tangled with yours in ways that left you drained, is trying to resurface. And though their return may wear the costume of kindness or change, it is not what it seems. There's a deeper pattern here, one you've broken free from, but which now wants to pull you back. This moment isn't about fear. It's about wisdom, about recognizing how far you've come, and refusing to give that progress away for the comfort of the familiar. Because Gemini, you are not who you were when they left. You are clearer now, stronger, but part of you still yearns to believe in redemption, in reconciliation, in second chances. And that very softness, that beautiful hope, is what could be used against you. In this video, we're going to walk through this moment together. Gently but honestly, you'll learn how to recognize the trap, how to protect your energy, and how to rise into your next chapter with integrity and clarity. If this already resonates, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe, not out of routine, but to anchor yourself in guidance and protection. You're being watched over, Gemini. Let's begin. Gate 1. Gemini, that feeling you can't explain? It's a warning dressed in familiarity. Gemini, your mind is quick, curious, agile, always searching for patterns. But there are moments in life where no logic can fully explain what your body already knows. That subtle tightness in your chest when a certain name appears in your thoughts. That unease you feel when a memory returns without being summoned. That whisper in your intuition that says, something isn't right. This isn't coincidence. It's your inner compass. And right now, it's trying to protect you from someone who doesn't deserve a second entrance into your story. There's a person, likely someone you've already detached from, who is quietly moving closer again. Maybe they haven't reached out yet, but the signs are there. You've started dreaming about them. You've randomly come across objects, songs, or moments that remind you of them. Their name seems to echo in strange places. And part of you might feel a mix of curiosity, nostalgia, even tenderness. But Gemini, you need to pause, because what you're sensing isn't longing, it's a psychic alert, a signal from your higher self that the energy coming toward you is not what it appears to be. Let's look at this in the story of Jada, a Gemini healer who had finally found peace after ending a long, emotionally complex relationship. She had done the inner work, meditated, moved cities, rebuilt her life, but then the dreams began. Text messages from unknown numbers, random mutual friends bringing up his name. The signs were subtle but constant, and inside her, something tightened. Her body knew before her mind did. He was trying to come back. When he finally did, sending a message that seemed warm, sincere, even vulnerable, Jada felt that old pull. The part of her that believed in potential, in kindness, in the ability to fix things, almost responded, but she paused. And in that pause, she realized something. It wasn't love she was feeling. It was guilt, habit, the echo of her former self. Gemini, this is what makes you vulnerable now, not weakness, but memory. Your mind may say, they've changed. Your heart may whisper, maybe this time is different. But your body, your energy already knows the truth. And the truth is, some people don't come back because they miss you. They come back because they miss what you gave them. Your energy, your warmth, your light. And when they see that you're glowing again, that you've grown, that you're healing, that you're doing just fine without them, their ego can't stand it. This is not a reunion. This is a reattachment. And it is not for your benefit. You must learn to trust what doesn't make sense yet. Trust that unease when their name crosses your mind. Trust the tightness in your throat when you think of letting them back in. Trust the sudden fatigue you feel just imagining the effort it would take to hold them again. Because this is your protection. Your nervous system is a sacred oracle. It remembers pain long after your mind tries to forgive it. And while forgiveness is holy, access is earned. Gemini, you are at a pivotal choice point. You can either reach for what is familiar but false, or protect what is new and true. Because yes, there is a comfort in what you know, but comfort is not the same as compatibility. Nostalgia is not the same as love, and not everyone deserves to witness who you are becoming. This week, the first step is awareness. Notice the signs. Stay conscious. Don't gaslight your own intuition. In the next gate, we'll go even deeper, exploring the true motivation behind why this person wants to come back, and how to break the energetic cycle that keeps drawing them toward your light. Gate 2, Gemini, their return is not about love. It's about control. Gemini, you have a generous heart. You love to believe in redemption, in the possibility that someone has evolved, healed, awakened, and to your credit, you often see the good in people before they see it in themselves. But that same compassionate gift is also what makes you vulnerable to manipulation, especially when someone knows how much you want to believe in their change. Let's be honest, the person approaching your energy field now isn't coming back for the reasons you wish they were. They're not coming back to nurture your peace. They're not coming back because they suddenly understand your worth. They're coming back because your silence, your distance, and most of all, your glow threatens their sense of control. This is not about love. This is about ego. It's about them realizing they no longer have access to the version of you they used to feed on. And now they're panicking because people like this, unhealed, unconscious, emotionally manipulative, are not addicted to your presence. They're addicted to your power, to your light, to the way you used to bend to accommodate their chaos, to the comfort you once gave freely, even when it cost you everything. They're not missing you. They're missing the way you made them feel whole when they were never willing to do that work themselves. Let me tell you about Elias, a Gemini man in his mid-30s. He had spent 2 years recovering from a relationship that quietly drained him. His ex-partner was emotionally erratic, disappearing when things got hard, reappearing when he was just starting to feel steady again. The pattern repeated over and over, until one day, Elias went no contact. For a while, peace returned. His creativity came back. His friendships deepened. His health improved. But months later, the messages began again. Soft at first. Hey, I was just thinking about you. Then, I've changed. I've done the work. Then, can we meet for coffee? Just to talk. Elias was tempted. He wanted to believe it, but something inside him felt heavy, tight, conflicted. When we spoke, I asked him a question. Do you think they're coming back to love you or to prove they still can get to you? That question changed everything. Gemini, I ask you the same thing now, because this person's re-entry is not spontaneous. It's strategic. They've observed you, seen your growth, felt your energy pulling away, and in their world, that loss of influence is intolerable, so they craft a new mask, a version of themselves that looks softer, more spiritual, more self-aware. But beneath the surface, the same old patterns remain. They may talk about therapy, but they haven't done the real work. They may use your language, alignment, healing, growth, but not from a place of embodiment, from a place of performance. They want to reclaim what they feel entitled to, your attention, your emotional labor, your light. And here's the dangerous part. They know you. They know how to press just the right emotional buttons. They know how to spark your empathy. They know how to use vulnerability as a tactic rather than truth. So how do you protect yourself? First, anchor into this truth. You don't owe access to anyone just because they say the right things. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself continued growth. You owe yourself the chance to build a future that is not built on recycled pain. Second, recognize the energetic pattern. This is not random. This is a karmic echo. And the test is not whether they've changed. It's whether you have. Can you hold your boundary when someone tries to twist it into cruelty? Can you say no without apology? Can you honor your past self by protecting your present self from repeating old wounds? This is your moment of clarity. Gemini, the universe is not trying to punish you. It's trying to protect you. By shining a spotlight on the one weak point still remaining, your desire to believe that people always come back for love. But not all returns are sacred. Some are invasions. And this return is about reclaiming control, about soothing their ego, about using you as a mirror to feel powerful again. You cannot allow that. Not after all you've healed. Not after everything you've built. And especially not when your future is blossoming with new opportunities, new love, and true alignment. In the next gate, we'll explore how to spiritually and emotionally disconnect from the cord that still links you to this energy, and how to keep your light from being dimmed ever again. Gate 3. Gemini, break the cord before it reattaches itself. Gemini, energy doesn't disappear. It either transforms or it lingers. And when someone you disconnected from begins circling back, what you're feeling is not just coincidence. It's a ripple in the energetic cord that still exists between you and them, one that you may have thought was severed, but in truth was simply sleeping. Now it's stirring. And unless you consciously cut that tie, it will try to reattach itself in subtler, smarter ways. You see, emotional cords are not about logic. They're not about how long it's been or how clear the breakup was, or how many boundaries you put in place. Cords are emotional channels, built through repeated vulnerability, shared history, deep energetic exchanges. And unless those channels are fully sealed, they remain open, dormant, until a familiar knock reawakens them. And Gemini, someone is knocking now. But here's the danger. If you haven't energetically closed the door, you may unknowingly let them into the cracks of your own compassion. Let me tell you about Amira, a Gemini creative who thought she was over her ex. She'd done the inner work, cut off contact, moved on physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Or so she believed. But one day, while journaling, she realized something subtle but striking. Whenever she faced a challenge in her new relationship, her mind would drift back to the old one. Not out of longing, but out of habit. Her ex still lived in the template of her trust. His voice still echoed in her inner dialogue. His criticisms were now her own. That's when she realized he was no longer present in her life, but the cord, it was alive, hidden, woven into her self-talk. This is a level of clarity you are being called into now, because the person returning isn't just testing your boundaries. They're feeding on whatever thread of connection still exists. And it may not be your words or actions that welcome them back. It may be the part of you that hasn't fully released what they once meant to you. So how do you cut the cord? For real? Not just through blocking, deleting, or ghosting, but spiritually, energetically, emotionally. Start here. Acknowledge what was real and what was not. Write it down. What did this person give you? What did they never give you? What did you hope to receive from them, but always had to imagine? This clarity breaks the illusion that they ever offered what you needed. Name the energy they represent. Was it control? Chaos? Seduction? Guilt? Manipulation disguised as love? Once you name the energy, you unmask it, and it loses power. Cleanse your environment. Get rid of any objects, gifts, or digital traces that still carry their energetic imprint. Yes, even the harmless ones. Memory is stored in matter. Let it go. Speak your closure. Even if you never get to say it to their face, write or speak the words aloud. I release you. You no longer have access to my energy. I reclaim every part of myself that I gave away to you. This chapter is over. Replace the gap. Cords create absence when they are cut. Fill that space consciously. With ritual, with support, with people who love you in truth. Don't leave it open for another wound to walk in. Trust the discomfort. Cutting cords often feels worse before it feels better. You may feel grief, guilt, even doubt. This is not a sign to turn back. It's a sign you're finally healing the root. Gemini, your mind is brilliant, but this work is not mental. It is energetic. And if you don't tend to it now, you will find yourself in yet another version of the same cycle you worked so hard to escape. Remember, this person doesn't miss you. They miss your attention, your devotion, your light. And if they had truly changed, they wouldn't need to convince you of it. Their life would already reflect it. They wouldn't be seeking entry. They'd be standing in their own evolution. But they are not. And you are. Your energy is golden now. Guard it like sacred fire. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to entertain false reconciliation. You don't need to soften your strength just because someone regrets losing you. In the next gate, We'll walk through how to hold your ground when they appear, how to say no not with fear, but with love for yourself, and how to become immune to the emotional bait they'll inevitably cast your way. Gate 4. Gemini, hold the line. How to say no without guilt, fear, or doubt. Gemini, you are naturally graceful with words. You know how to soften sharp edges, how to make rejection sound like redirection. You can charm your way through difficult moments, pacify tension, and bring harmony where there was once discord. But this time, this situation, you must not use your words to make others comfortable. You must use your truth to protect yourself. Because when this person reappears, and they'll come not with fire, but with velvet, not with force, but with familiarity. And that's what makes it dangerous. They know you. They know that your heart wants to do what's right, that you believe in kindness, compassion, and closure. They will play to this. They'll open with warmth, just checking in. I've been thinking about you. I finally understand what went wrong. But Gemini, this is not an apology. This is bait. And your job is not to decode it or soften it. Your job is to decline it. Let's talk about boundaries, not the polite kind, but the spiritual kind. The ones that are not just about saying no, but about being no. Because when someone has shown you time and again that they will use your softness against you, your gentleness becomes a gift they're not entitled to. Take the story of Zara, a Gemini teacher in her early 40s. She was known among her friends as the diplomat, the peacemaker who always found a way to end things on good terms. After a years-long emotionally manipulative relationship, she finally walked away. But when her ex returned, he didn't come back with drama. He came back with respect. With phrases like, I just want to talk, I've done a lot of reflection, and I owe you closure. Zara hesitated. Surely a conversation wouldn't hurt? But after one call, she felt the familiar dizziness, the energetic static, the confusion that crept in not because of his words, but because of her old wound still wanting to be understood. She called me. Why do I feel guilty for ignoring him? She asked. Why do I feel like I'm being cruel? And I told her the same truth. I will tell you now, Gemini, you are not being cruel. You are being clear. When someone crosses a boundary that required you to rebuild yourself, physically, emotionally, or spiritually, you are under no obligation to reopen that door just because they've knocked sweetly this time. Here's how to hold your no with love and certainty. Prepare your answer now, not later. Don't wait until the message arrives. Decide today what your boundary is. Write it. Speak it aloud. Practice saying it without apology. Avoid engaging at all. You don't need to reply to prove your maturity. Silence is not immaturity. It's sovereignty. A closed door doesn't need a speech. It needs a lock. Feel the guilt and let it pass. That twinge of guilt is not your truth. It's your programming. You've been conditioned to believe that firmness is cruelty, but firmness is safety, and your safety matters. Don't explain your no. The more you explain, the more loopholes you leave. Toxic people don't want closure. They want control. Give them neither. Guard your energetic field. After any encounter, virtual or in person, cleanse. Sit in silence. Visualize your energy returning fully to you. Say, I call all my power back to me now. And mean it. Gemini, this is not just a rejection of a person. It's a declaration of your evolution. It's you saying, I no longer entertain the version of myself who needed to be chosen by people who never chose me fully. I no longer stay open for people who drain me under the guise of love. I no longer make space for half-hearted returns. You are not being harsh. You are being wholly in your boundary. And yes, some people will be shocked by your strength. Let them be, because the old version of you, the one who stayed in the conversation too long, gave one more chance, answered messages you didn't want to, she's gone. And what's replacing her is someone powerful, grounded, unshakable. In the final gate, we will explore what happens when you truly pass this test, and how, on the other side of this no, a brighter, freer, deeply aligned future is waiting for you. Gate 5. Gemini, say no once, and say yes to everything you've been becoming. Gemini, you spent months, maybe years, rebuilding, quietly untangling the knots left behind by those who never knew how to love you properly. You've learned to protect your peace, to listen to your intuition, and to speak truth without trembling. But now comes the most sacred threshold of all, the one where you choose your future over your familiar past. Because on the other side of this no, this clear, sovereign, unapologetic no, is everything you've been working for. Not just the absence of chaos, but the arrival of clarity. Not just space from toxicity, but the room for true love, soul-aligned opportunity, and self-trust. You see, Gemini, this isn't merely about resisting an old person. It's about resisting an old version of you. The version that made excuses for others, that confused hope with evidence, that tolerated what drained you because you feared being alone. That version served its purpose. She got you here. But now, she must step aside. Because you're not a landing pad for people who fly in when it suits them. You are not a rehab center for emotionally unavailable partners. You are not a safe house for chaos disguised as affection. You are something entirely different now. You are becoming someone who no longer negotiates their worth. Someone who honors how hard you fought to heal. Someone who no longer seeks closure from people who handed you silence when you needed understanding. Let me tell you about Run, a Gemini mother who spent years giving second chances to the same man. He would disappear for months, then return with clarity, apologies, and half-lies wrapped in poetic text messages. Each time, Rin, soft, hopeful, craving wholeness, would let him in, and each time, she'd lose a part of herself in the process. But the last time, something had shifted. He sent a simple message. I miss us. Can we talk? And for the first time, Ren didn't respond. Not because she hated him. Not because she wanted revenge. But because she loved herself more than she needed to be heard by someone who never truly listened. And that silence, it wasn't empty. It was reclamation. It was the sound of her becoming. Gemini, this is what's at stake now. This is your initiation. Will you answer the knock of the past, knowing it carries the same wound in a new disguise? Or will you rise quietly and powerfully into the new timeline you've been preparing for? Because here's what I see. When you say no to the trap, the universe opens a door. And through that door comes someone or something genuinely aligned with the version of you who values her peace above all else. It may not arrive tomorrow, but it will arrive. And when it does, you'll be grateful you didn't trade the eternal for the temporary. So here's your mantra now. I am no longer available for the people, patterns, or energy that I had to heal from. Repeat it when you wake. Repeat it when a message comes. Repeat it when your body remembers what your mind tries to forget. Because Gemini, your intuition is not lying to you. It never was. That discomfort, that chill you feel when thinking of letting them back in, that is truth. And it's stronger than any nostalgia they'll try to stir. Say no once, clearly, calmly, lovingly, and watch your entire life say yes to the version of you that you were always meant to be. Conclusion, Gemini, this was never about them. It was always about you remembering who you are. Gemini, pause for a moment. Breathe deeply. Let everything settle. Because this wasn't just a warning. It was a remembrance, a sacred return to your own center, to your clarity, to your strength. So often we look at these encounters, the ones that test our boundaries, pull on our compassion, awaken old shadows, and we think they're about them, about their return, their intentions, their evolution or lack thereof. But the truth is, this moment was always about you, about whether you would choose your highest self or fall back into your former self, about whether you would protect what you spent so long rebuilding or let old energy sneak in under the guise of sentimentality. And here you are, at the edge of that decision, with the wisdom to see the pattern, the courage to name it, and the love to walk away from what no longer belongs. This is what spiritual maturity looks like. Not dramatic exits or theatrical goodbyes, but quiet boundaries held with grace. Saying, no, thank you, to what once wrecked you. Choosing silence over explanation, peace over pleasing. And what comes next, Gemini, is sacred. A new chapter. One where your energy is no longer siphoned by ghosts of your past. One where your boundaries are respected without needing to be justified. One where your light is matched by others who carry their own. So I ask you now, what are you saying yes to by saying no to this? Write it in the comments. Claim it in your own voice. Let it be your declaration, your anchor. You never know who else your truth might liberate. And if this message stirred something deep in you, know this. It wasn't by chance. It was a signal, a soul confirmation, a whisper from the universe reminding you are worth protecting. Subscribe if you haven't already, so you continue to walk this path with guidance, clarity, and soul support. There is so much more ahead. You are not alone. Gemini, your future is waiting. Let the past knock as loudly as it wants. You don't have to answer.